Hey, this is Jim Toscano here with Rhythm Magazine, and today I'm speaking with Stanton Moore, my good buddy in New Orleans, and we're talking about setups and tech and what went on during the lockdown. So we're going to sort of reminisce and we're going to go through some of our various setups. So Stanton, welcome.
Jim, great to see you. Great to be talking to you. And we have talked a lot through this period, and we're going to reminisce about that. And I am able to come at you with this quality, this level that we're at, video and audio, because of you. And thank you to start off. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. So,
Well, I'm so happy that we wound up meeting together. I almost can't remember how our introduction happened, but I think I just did. I think Dave Stanhope in Minnesota put us in touch with each other, and I've been working with Dave for over a year at that point, or maybe longer, maybe 2 years. But he put us together, and so I think our first text to each other, you just found the date, was when?
March 25th is the first day, the first date of text that I can find where we had a call set up. And yeah, Dave Stanek, who wrote Mastering the Tables of Time, he introduced us because I was like, man, I can see it coming. I think I need to set up to stream. And I had already had 4 cameras and I was filming, but not streaming yet. And so Dave was like, okay, we'll reach out to Jim Toscano. Jim is the guy. And you and I were just talking about that many of your conversations with other great drummers, not saying I'm great, just great drummers that you've been talking to, have started that way, where they say, hey, Jim, I need help. I hear you're the guy.
Well, I humbly take that title, especially for, drummers. And I've worked with other musicians as well, but it seems like the drumming community has come to me, and I really appreciate that. But let's speak to when the lockdown first happened and everybody went into panic mode. We were doing a setup in your house.
Yeah. Yeah, because at that point, we didn't really feel comfortable enough coming to the studio, getting in the same room with my engineer, Nick. And I am admittedly not a tech guy. Like, I realize that I need tech and I want to get my ideas across to other drummers and I want to share those ideas. But I'm often the guy who is, pulling my hair out, getting frustrated and with technology and with computers. And so I enlisted Nick to start filming me and editing stuff. So when you and I first started, I was like, oh man, I can't even go to my studio and get in the same room with Nick, but I wanted to start reaching out to people. So I just started opening up my computer and going live on Facebook, and then realized I needed to get it better and to start learning. And so I got an interface and some mics from the studio and started making it sound better, and then started learning about OBS from you so that I could start making my stream run smoother. And so I started making it better each week, and then eventually started feeling comfortable coming in here with masks and being socially distanced with Nick, and having Nick start learning from you as well and start switching the cameras that I already had. And you walked me through everything that I should buy for the switcher and the cables and all of that. So thanks to you, I was able to take my filming and editing studio and also utilize what I already had and start streaming. And now I stream most Wednesday nights, and we're streaming on multiple platforms. And I just did my virtual drum camp and switching all the cameras, and Nick was doing all that. And we did that on Zoom. So I knew that if I could get to where I could stream, then I could reach other drummers. And it's because of you, man, and I appreciate it. It is, it is a big learning curve, but it is doable, right? And that's what I try to keep conveying to drummers. It can be challenging, but it's worth the challenge.
Absolutely. And really at the end of the day, it's all about connecting. It's about the drum community and connecting with people. And that's what we do as musicians playing live. It's that connection with someone else and giving back. And I think with the live streaming thing, when you first started to go live, it was just trying to reach people, right? And have that connection. And a funny story, when we first hooked up your gear at your house and we had you on the lav mic, and then I recommended you get a mic mute switch because the lav, when you play, of course, sounds awful when you have drums coming through a lav. So we got that foot switch, and I can't tell you how many times it was like I was in your live streams with you, right? And going, Stanton, mute the lav, Mike, mute the lav.
Yeah, exactly. And now I've gotten almost into a habit of it. A couple of times every now and then I'll forget, but I've also got one for Nick now. So Nick is like my sidekick, my engineer, my voice, my announcer, he reads me the questions as they come in. He'll also say, oh, you should also talk about this while you're on that subject, because Nick is a great drummer himself. And so it's great having a drummer to work with and kind of, to bounce ideas off of. And when we're filming stuff, he'll tell me, you could do that better. So it's good to have that interplay, and have that interaction. So shout out and kudos to my engineer, Nick Solnick.
So aside from the technical challenge from the very beginning, which we kind of already addressed, what would you say was the biggest challenge of going into a completely virtual world as a musician suddenly and without really any understanding of how long this was going to be for, aside from the technical stuff?
So I guess the difficult decision was to, make the decision that, well, I'm going to risk embarrassing myself, but if I don't put myself in that hot seat, then it'll just be, oh yeah, I should get that streaming rig together, and we'll be sometime into next year, and I'll be like, oh, I'm on tour again. I wish I would have gotten that streaming thing together. So, I just threw myself into the deep end of the pool, asked for help from you, asked for help from Nick, and now we're doing things. I did a Zoom this morning where we're gonna do some stuff with Zildjian coming up, and I've got something coming up with Gretsch, and I've done a master class for drum trainer in Berlin for the international drummer meeting that's hosted there every year. I just did my camp virtually. I've been doing, I just did a master class, well, I did a test, and the master class is coming up for Drummers Collective. So it was one of those things where I knew if you build it, they will come, or at least I hoped. So I took that leap, and it is panning out. I am getting things coming in, and it is totally worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I will attest to this, that when you first started to stream and I was going on with you each night with the stream and watching, making sure that things weren't glitching out and making sure your lav was muted, that the people that were coming in really appreciated the fact that you were going live. It didn't really matter that in the very beginning the tech wasn't 100%. It didn't matter. The fact that you were there meant a lot to a lot of people, and you could see it in the chat and you could see it in the comments. So I just wanted to mention that. And basically, and your camp, you just did the virtual camp, and I heard through the grapevine that everybody had an amazing time. And the fact that you were still able to do it here a year later without having everyone come out to your place and they did it online is incredible. So let me ask you this. From a year ago when you were doing the camp live, how did your approach in terms of workflow have to change to accommodate that, to do it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Normally for the camp, we set up 2 drum sets in the big room, and I have 30 people, and most of them have practice kits that they rent from me. So that's a lot of work setting all that up. And my drum tech for the last 17 or more years, Adam Kelly, he gets somebody to help him, and it's a lot of work for them to set that up, set up a small PA so that people can hear the play-alongs that I demonstrate to. And then we have 2 drum kits in a room for Shannon Powell, 2 drum kits in a room for Johnny Vodakovich. So I was able to focus more on the material, and I sent out PDFs in advance to everybody. I kept writing new material up until the last minute and sending people things that I was wanting to present. So it allowed me to really focus on all of that, and it, in some ways, it was less draining, I guess, on me. So I was also able to I felt like I was able to be more present, I guess. And also it in person, I play that Friday night at DBA with the New Orleans Klezmer All-Stars, Saturday night at Tipitina's with Dragon Smoke. Sunday night we do a concert where all the campers get to sit in, and I have different bands. I've had Galactic, I've had Leo Nocentelli, I've had George Porter Jr., both Leo and George from the Meters, and the campers get to sit in with them. But this time I had the campers present video that they've been filming, and we talked a little bit about all of that. So it was a different experience. And then Monday I did basically a cooking class where my wife showed everybody how to prepare red beans, and we put them on the stove, and we spent about 45 minutes doing that. Came back 3 hours later and had dinner and some drinks and tasted, everybody who made the red beans tasted the red beans. So I tried to look at it not as a hindrance that we couldn't be together in person, but to do things that we wouldn't have been able to do if we were in person. So everybody, reached out ahead of time, let everybody know, stay on mute, and unless you're asking a question. So if people were at home and they were able to play full volume on their own drum sets along with me, because there's, no latency, because they're hearing me, they're playing to me. So I don't need to hear them back. They're just playing to me on mute. So people were able to get a lot of playing in, and I made a point, workflow. I made a point to play when I was demonstrating something, play it for a lot longer so that people could play along with me. And if I was demonstrating playing in between straight and swing, I'd really lock into that in between, and I'd I'd play it on a pad, and I'd talk to people and be like, okay, this is where you really want it to be, in between here. And I'd stay there for a while, and I'd say, okay, now play along with me again. I'm gonna play on the kit, turn off the lav, which now, thanks to you, I'm remembering.
Sweet.
Yeah. Nick used to have a sign that said lav with an exclamation point, and he would hold it up when I would forget. And now I'm getting a little bit better about it.
See, now you're becoming an old pro at all this stuff. So
Right, but we're getting there.
yeah, exactly. Why don't you just speak to, so what is, you mentioned a lot of positives, that came into play in the camp scenario, some different things. But what would you say is the one, maybe just point to one positive that came out of this entire lockdown experience? What is the one positive?
The one positive is the time. And then what I've done with the time is get our streaming situation together. Now I can go play gigs and Nick can come with me and we can stream. We've streamed from the sidewalk of Tipitina's with my organ trio. We've streamed from the Columns Hotel with my piano trio, and Nick running those streams. We'll be able to stream from my house. I've rebuilt my whole website, the Stanton Moore Drum Academy. So StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com is completely rebuilt on a new platform that is functioning a lot better now. And Nick and I filmed and released my first course, so a 5-lesson course on shuffles, complete with notation and the PDFs and all that. And so the the one positive is the time that I've gotten and been able to accomplish and execute a lot of the projects that I've been wanting to tackle, and streaming being the big one.
I have to ask you, do you think that this is going to be sort of the future of drum education? Like, is this going to be the new normal? Is online teaching going to be more so the cornerstone of drum education? Or do you think it's all of a sudden it's going to kind of go back to normal? I mean, what is your feeling on that?
That's a great question. And I think that online education has been becoming more of a piece of the pie. I think that right now it's a huge piece of the pie. I don't think things are just going to go back to normal. I think that, you know, things are going to be different after this. I think that there are still things that you have to get in person. You know, things that I learned so much from doing is going to see somebody live in person, then getting asked to sit in and being put in the hot seat and being scared out of your mind to play with musicians who are so much better than you, to sit on the drum throne where one of your heroes was just sitting, and you've got to now sit down and sit in. Like that's an unbelievable education in and of itself. And I learned so much by sitting in when I was growing up. And I think that that's still an incredible way to learn, and it's a huge part of it. It was a huge part of my education growing up. So I think experiences like that you can only get in person. And, you know, some teachers like to be real hands-on, and I think that's part of it too. So I think online education will continue to grow, and right now it's really the only way we can do things, or it's, you know, the biggest way to have an impact, and I think that it'll continue to, you know, to be very impactful.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, you guys have really, you know, along with yourself and Nick, and really kind of being creative and thinking of ways to still reach people and doing those concerts the way you're doing it and live streaming. You know, you're really kind of at the forefront of what this whole thing is. And what's incredible is what people learned over the last, you know, decade on sort of live streaming and how it moved along. Like for the gaming world, it's gigantic. All of a sudden for musicians, now it's become sort of mainstream. Everybody's streaming, right? Everybody's comfortable just putting it out there on a computer, talking to no one most of the time when you're in your studio, which is a strange feeling. But why don't we get a look into what your rig looks like, what the studio looks like behind the scenes. I'm very familiar with it from working with you on it, but why don't we take the readers through what that looks like, and we'll go through maybe each of your cams, and maybe we can get a look at your desk and your setup and Nick, and we'll see what that all looks like.
Absolutely. So right now I've been talking to you in what we call the side cam, and this, you know, we've got this camera so that you can see what I'm doing with all the left side percussion and stuff like that. And then I will show you, we've got the overhead cam, and this is great, and my campers really dug this because you can really see when I demonstrate brushes, you can really see what's going on here. And I'm remembering to turn off my lav and turn it on, thanks to you, Jim Toscano, thank you very much. And then we've got the front cam right here, so sometimes I'll talk into the front cam, and we'll use this camera when I'm playing sometimes. And then we also can do picture-in-picture, so Nick's going to do a little overhead picture-in-picture for you right now. So, you know, I can just let you hear a little bit of how we sound if you want to, and I'll turn off my lav and let you hear a little bit of what we sound like.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is all your fault, Jim. So,
Responsibility.
yeah, and then we also have the foot cam, which right now we're not using, but we also have that, and we'll do the foot cam picture in picture, and then we'll give you a little tour. I'm going to show you around the studio. I'm going to get up and move over to the desk and show you a little bit of what we've got going on.
Awesome. Okay, Stanton, so tell us what we're seeing now, the behind the scenes here. What are we looking at?
Yep. So what we're looking at is, this is a monitor where Nick can see all of our camera shots, and you can see Nick right there. And we are using Nick's laptop, and we have the Roland V1HD switcher, and this is what you and I discussed, and this is what I decided to go with. There are other switcher options, but this is what we decided to go with. And then up here is the big screen where I can see and I can converse, and that's what I've been able to see you while we've been talking. There's my velvet Jimi Hendrix. And now going around the room, as we go over here, then we have some shells with some snares, which are usually not on camera. That's my side cam over there that you're seeing. And then Nick's going to give you a view of the drum set.
Nice. What are the cameras, Stanton?
My consultant who helped me with buying the video gear, he said, well, will you plan on streaming? And I said, I think so eventually. So he made sure that he suggested some cameras that would work for streaming. And so that's what we went with, was 2 Sony a6400s and 2 GoPros. So my GoPros are my overhead and my foot cam. So that's what we went with to start with. And I'm sure that we'll be upgrading cameras in the future, but I had to get started with something. So Nick, can we go around and maybe go around this way again? And can we show the interview area? So this is kind of the hang area and interview area that we're going to come around to. That's my snare shelf. And then right here is 2 comfy leather chairs, and with a light stand leaning up against them. But this is those are some of my favorite drummers. And then the meters on the right, Jimi Hendrix on the left. And then this is where I like to interview, and this is also where we kind of hang out when we're not filming and stuff. And we don't usually have this camera set up, so this is kind of an impromptu look around the studio. And we can switch and go. Yep. Again. There's Nick. Say hi, Nick Solnick.
What could you tell us about your audio gear and how you're set up for audio?
Yeah, so I decided to go with the Universal Audio Apollo 8Ps because I figured if I was going to do all of this, I wanted to be set up to record for people's tracks as well. So we're set up, we're running maybe 13, 14 channels.
Oh, all 16, baby.
All 16, Nick says. We're running all 16 channels. And because I've got all that side percussion and overheads and a room mic and a subwoofer. We've got the moon mic on the front of the bass drum. So we're just running a bunch of different mics so that when we record for people, we have options. Those people have options because different people want to hear different things, right? So we're set up to do tracks. We're set up to do filming of videos, and we're also set up, thanks to you, Jim Toscano, set up to stream. So all from right here in this room that was really kind of a storeroom in the Galactic studio, and I kind of just basically started squatting in here and dialing it in and making it better and better as we go along. And now we're able to do quite a bit from this room. you know, I've tried to make it all so that, you know, if we had to, we could pick this up and move it into a 2-car garage or move it into another space. You know, it's all pretty modular, you know. And then these cameras we take them to gigs, you know. And Nick's got his own switcher, and he's got the Blackmagic ATEM Mini Pro, and so we take my cameras, and he's got a couple cameras too, and we can literally stream with his audio interface and his autonomous streaming rig. We've streamed from the sidewalk at Tipitina's. And so, you know, you can literally do this anywhere that you have internet and electricity. So,
Right.
yeah.
So just in closing, first of all, what would you like to plug that you have coming up? And you have your school and your camps. So give us all of that information so the listeners and the readers know where to go to look for you and for everything you're doing.
StantonMooreDrumAcademy.com. And I have a 14-day trial. People can come and see what we've been filming in here. Wednesday nights, usually, I'm going live, and that is free and on multiple platforms. But it's all driving towards the Stanton Moore Drum Academy, where I have an interactive forum, answer all the questions, I watch people's videos, I comment. So it's really become quite an interactive community on the Academy, and the streaming is part of an extension of that as well. So thanks, Jim, for all your help, because I literally would not be talking to you like this right now if it wasn't for your help.
You know, thank you for spending the time with me and going through your setup. I'm sure everybody that's seeing this video is really excited. And I wish you the best of luck through this whole thing. And I know you and I will be talking plenty in the future. And I know our readers thank you. So we'll see you real soon. And look for Stanton on all of his endeavors. And I'll put the links in the video so you guys can find the URL to find Stanton.
Thank you, Jim. Good talking to you, my man.